and talk to you guys a little bit. The class from July 1st has now been placed on Mega NZ, so you all now have access to that. If you do not have access to it at this point, let me know in the comments below, or look at your email and check your spam messages to make sure that it didn't get placed into the spam section. With that said, verify these things before contacting me first. Check your spam, check your Mega account. There's a new verification process on Mega, and I have to go through and individually verify everybody. Now, I've done that in advance, but that doesn't necessarily mean the system is without flaw. So, please go check that first and foremost. I do apologize about the delay, but as always, I always deliver on what I say I'm going to deliver. And so you all should have access at this point. I'm going to go back through here a little bit later to make sure that I didn't miss anybody's email, but it's imperative that you guys have this information. Since the last class, Smoking Baby and I have spoken, and we have decided that the next class, everybody will be muted out, and class will be timely and efficient in the manner of no questions will be asked until the end of the class. It's kind of a great disservice not to be able to move through the volume of material that needs to be processed before we take questions. I guess one of the issues is Smoking Baby as well as myself, we want to make sure that you guys are comprehending the information that's being provided to you. It's quintessential. I mean, without it, we're kind of pissing up a rope, and we don't like reiterating stuff, but it's necessary at times. So in the future, everybody will be muted out during the class until we're done with the presentation, and we're only going to take questions that pertain to the subject matter from this point forward. We had people hypothecating about presumed scenarios about their auntie and their grandma and their nana and their auntie in Nantucket. That shit doesn't fly. It doesn't work. We can presume and assume all day long. It's nothing more than stroking off without any lubrication. It's just irritating, okay? So we're going to stop all that nonsense during the classes, and we're going to start asking questions at the end, and we will encourage everybody at the beginning to get a notepad out, pad of paper, and write down their questions, because 90% of the time, almost 90% of the time, if we can just fluidly get through the instructional course, your question will be answered, okay? So with that said, again, go check out your Mega, and I want you to look in there for what's called the W4 class folder in your Mega.NZ account. If you didn't have a Mega NZ account, the email that you gave me, there's an email that was sent to you utilizing the email you gave me. Again, we value your privacy. Everything was sent out BCC, so your private intellectual property wasn't disseminated to other people in the group. We've made a mistake before where everybody's emails got sent out, and, you know, I got some questionable concerns about people's private intellectual property and their safety participating. So we have removed all doubt and made sure that we triple check before we send anything out that it's all BCC, so your private intellectual property and your email are safe and you're not getting spammed by other people or involved in conversations you don't necessarily wish nor desire to be involved in. So with that said, again, check your Mega.NZ account, check your email account. If you gave us multiple emails, check multiple emails, check your spam folder, please. In the event that I hand typed in your email incorrectly and you did not receive it, again, I will be going through them again this evening. It's a time-consuming process. I go through them one by one by myself, and it takes time. So I appreciate your patience. The attention to detail is very important to me, as it is to you as well, or you wouldn't be contributing. The next thing I wanted to talk about is people within the community that are so scorned that others utilize information that they may have discovered. I, as a man, have never claimed to know it all. I never will claim to know it all. I have never stated that I've done this all by myself, as you all know, in every class, and for the most part in almost every public display that I give on social media, YouTube, and otherwise. I always inform people that I didn't do this on my own. It's because of each and every one of you that I'm able to even do what I'm able to do at this point. And I learn from literally everybody. Anybody that is helping you excel of the mind and telling you that they did it on their own is completely, utterly full of shit, okay? Some of my mentors have been dead for over 100 years. Palmery, Joseph Story, Henry R. Gibson. These are my mentors that aren't with us but left great literature behind as a legacy to help us ascend of the mind and comprehend how to handle our affairs as men and women. Okay? There are numerous templates within Henry R. Gibson's Suits and Chancery that are literally plug and play. You put your name, your address, who the alleged wrongdoer is, and you submit your bill in equity. Literally already done for you. These illustrious chancellors that review this information, that are in the know, that are learned, typically that are quite a bit older, absolutely understand what you're submitting. And it's flawless. It has stood the test of time since Henry R. Gibson's Suits and Chancery came out. Nothing has changed, ladies and gentlemen, other than the mentality and the propaganda that's been forced down our gullet through the news media, through the alleged judicial system, which really isn't a judiciary at this point. Can you get access to the judiciary? Absolutely you can. But 90% or better of the time, you're actually in an administrative process, all right? Has nothing to do at all with the judicial branch, period. So, if you find yourself in a conundrum, in an incident with gun-toting morons on the side of the road, I used to say, ask a series of questions. I've learned that most people aren't competent enough to do that without making statements that incriminate themselves. So instead of doing that, I now tell people, don't say anything at all. Ask them to read your Miranda rights on the side of the road, and when they finish them, or the Miranda on the side of the road, when they finish them, just say, I'm gonna stand on my rights at this point. If they are going to threaten, coerce you, force you into a position where you have to give something, or they are going to abduct you, human traffic you, traffic your person, or take you into custody, understand that constitutes false arrest, false imprisonment, absent a victim, absent a crime, absent corpus delicti, absent mens rea, malium in se, and malium prohibitum. All right? These are fundamental basics that you must all retain, understand, and be able to articulate. Okay? It's not a game. This is very serious. We have a foreign standing army on our land, on our soil, and we're the ones to blame for our lack of critical attention to detail, for our inept attitude towards, we'll just let the government handle it. All right? It's horrible thinking to think that somebody else is going to protect your unalienable rights. Just like I know nobody's going to protect my household better than me. Period. Nobody's going to protect the land that I love, the people that I care about, and the community that I'm fortunate to frequent better than myself. And you have to have that mentality. Freedom is not free. It has never, in the history of mankind, has freedom ever been free, ladies and gentlemen. All right? And again, all the accolades go to the Heavenly Father. They go to you guys who participate, who have the goal, the testicle fortitude to stand up and say, fuck you, not today. Not today. Any other day, you might have got away with this shit, but today is not your day, Scooter. All right? Because that's what freedom's all about. Standing on your unalienable rights, not civil rights. Civil rights are privileges, ladies and gentlemen. Unalienable rights are different, okay? So, civil rights pertain and are, in fact, privileges. I don't operate by privileges. I don't need your fucking permission to be free and travel about the way that I wish and desire, so long as I'm not causing harm, damage, loss, or a hardship. Hardship, the word hardship invokes equity, by the way. There are certain ways. It's a demeanor. It's the way you carry yourself that invokes certain aspects of equity. All right? It's a language in and of itself that, if articulated properly, orally, you don't even need paperwork, ladies and gentlemen. It's amazing. So that's why I encourage everybody to start reading the Bible, whether you're spiritually inclined or not, or you believe in it or not, makes no difference to me, because the lessons held within the book are so incredibly profound. It literally articulates to you society in a nutshell, clean across the board in all nations. And it will teach you how to stand up for yourself. It is the original book of trust. It has all the laws in it, and it is a banking manual if you know how to read it. The parables in that book are amazing. And I didn't learn this till the Heavenly Father put me in prison. Put me in prison for 16 days. He knew that I was crafty. After all, he knew me long before I ever existed on this planet. Okay? Long before I ever inhabited the earth. And I'm not an inhabitant. I'm just a sojourner. I'm just passing through. Sui Juris. All right? The beautiful thing about America is we have a unalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, property. Okay? And people go, well, that's a little confusing, Derrick, because you state that without property, there is no such thing as rights. That is a factual statement. If you cannot own property, you don't have any rights, because property and rights are synonymous with one another. So now we need to talk about tangible and intangible property, tangible and intangible rights. For example, you have the right to breathe. Nowhere is it dictated in any document that you have that right. So why are you sucking up my God-given good air? Where is it written that you can breathe? It's not. That's why we pay attention to the 9th Amendment. The power is not vested in the federal government or the state government, are vested in we the people. Okay? And it more specifically states the power is not granted, delegated to the federal government, are reverted back to the state. And who is the state again, people? We the people. Period. What you need to understand is when you're operating under statutes, codes, city ordinances, rules, and regulations, you're not operating by the law of the land. I operate by the law of the motherfucking land. There is no substitution for me. Period. I'm getting ready to send a state trooper back to Haiti because he is a foreign agent carrying a gun, oppressing my people, God's people, our family and friends, under the presumption and assumption that statutes, codes, city ordinances, rules, and regulations are the law of the land. And in doing so, he violated my unalienable rights. He is going back to Haiti by the time I am done. Guaranteed. I am going to subpoena the INS. I am going to subpoena ICE. I am going to subpoena all the organizations that he had to go through a process to even be admitted into the home of the brave and the land of the motherfucking free. And I am going to scrutinize the scrutinizer. And by the time I am done, he will have admitted and they will have proven by their own rules and regulations to even have him here that he has violated the very law that he swore to uphold, defend, and protect, which is the law of the motherfucking land. Does that make sense for you guys? Is that helping you understand things with a little more clairvoyancy? Now people go, oh, that's great, but there is no real judge. There is a, look, In an administrative process, facts are created by way of stipulation and judicial notices. That's how you create facts on a record. Your silence be omission and be it resolved. You admit by tacit agreement and acquiescence that the aforementioned statements of fact are true, correct, and not misleading in any way, shape, or form, and you agree by stipulation to the terms and conditions. Gotcha. It's that simple. When somebody pulls me over and says, I pull you over because statute violation. Oh, so I committed a crime? No, you not understand. Oh, I think I understand perfectly what you're doing on the side of the road, you pirate. Title 18, 1661 violation. Title 18, 1666. All right? Piracy on my land. I get it. I see what you're doing. Unjustly enriching yourself under the color of law, the color of authority, the color of office, and oppressing me under the color of law, the color of authority, the color of office. I get exactly what you're doing, issuing those securities on the side of the road. I understand firmly that you're making legal determinations and being the judge, jury, and executioner of your own claim, and denying me due process of law in the process of executing your alleged authority. But I also know you don't have an SF-61 on file. You don't have a proper oath of office on file. You're a private mercenary, and they're going to let me hang you, figuratively speaking. Although, when I send your ass to Guantanamo Bay, they might actually literally hang you. I have the unalienable right to persecute anybody who trespass on me and my way of life, so long as there's no injured party. Because if I'm not a criminal, ladies and gentlemen, then we equally and oppositely must presume and assume that they are the aggressive criminal. Period. And it's just a matter of asking a few simple questions that proves my point. You see, my mother got firsthand knowledge of what I was speaking of. The whole village of 4,000 plus people thought I was batshit crazy. They thought I was nuts. Derrick, cops would never trump up crimes and allegations against you. You obviously did something wrong. They wouldn't just take interest in you for no reason. No, not at all. Maybe there's malice in their heart. Maybe they have contempt for the law. I can't actually tell you why they do what they do, aside from the fact that they've been poorly educated and incentivized to break the very law they're set to enforce and have taken an oath to enforce, right? But I can't testify as to why they do what they do. I can speculate all day long, but that don't do us any good. But how do we find them accountable? How do we hold them accountable? Because remember, freedom's all about liability, accountability, and responsibility. Are you able to account for the things that are transpiring around you? Are you able to create a record? Yes or no? Can you competently, without emotion, create that record? Date, time, what happened, how it transpired, things of that nature. If you're able to account for it, can you see the lie, the liability, the ability for them to lie to you in order to unjustly enrich their principal, which benefits them and their retirement? Can you see it? Are you able to see that they can lie to you? Yes or no? If you can see it, then the last thing and the most important part of freedom is responsibility, baby. Do you have the ability to respond after creating a record? Do you know how to properly respond? If the answer is yes, winner, winner, chicken dinner, you are well on your way to enjoying freedom as a sovereign man and woman should. Now, I've been quoting a saying, I would like to abolish the system. I'm here to tell you right now, I like the system the way it is. There are a lot of heathens out there that if they weren't told what to do, if they weren't given directives, they'd be out doing all kinds of mischievous things. And the good Lord tells us in the good book that you can't have good without evil. All right? Never can good manifest from evil, but from good manifests evil. I'll say it again. Never from evil manifest anything that is good, but from good, evil can be manifested. All right? In other words, if you pick grapes from the vineyard off the vine, we typically harvest them right at the opportunity for them to be ripe and cure on our table. We don't harvest them after they've been depleted and drained of their energy and then put them on the kitchen table in hopes that they will become voluptuous and beautiful. So if you need a visual of how evil never manifests anything good, but from good comes evil, let's use the cycle of life with a fruit so you can understand it. We harvest things when the situation is ripe, which means that when something occurs to you, there's a maximum of law that states, and this has stood the test of time for 10,000 years and beyond, and it will stand the test of time for another 10,000 years to come undoubtedly. And that maximum of law is long-suffering equates to acquiescence. It's acceptance. Long-suffering is acceptance. If you are accountable, have the ability to account for the things that transpire around you, you're receptive to it, you're paying acute attention to detail at all times of your surroundings and the interactions you are having, then you have a duty to be responsible. Responsible meaning that you respond by putting it in writing and following due process of law, which is nothing more than notice and opportunity. Now, I used to go around beating my little war drum, and all my mentors just loved me. Boy, you got some balls, kid. One of these days, I even had lawyers tell me this, one of these days they're gonna put you in a deep, dark fucking hole and bury you, buddy. Stop beating your war drum. Stop doing it. It's noble, it's righteous, everything you're doing just fills my heart with glee, but we know the outcome of guys like you. They bury people like you in the deepest, darkest hole they can fucking find. And I told them all, you kiss my ass. I'll never lay down. My juxtaposition has changed just a little bit on that. I still have the same tenacity. I still have the same piss and vinegar within me. But I understand it's about going to peace. I understand and comprehend fully that it's not about be right-itis. It's about asking the right question at the right time that yields the most perfect result you could ever ask for. It's their admission or omission that is an admission that I'm looking for. See, if I make statements, the onus of probandi falls upon me. Why make a statement? Why make a claim when I can simply inquire? Right? I'm just asking, as king, where did you get your delegation of authority to lord over me? You see, I got a few people in my life that when they give me directives, I don't give a fuck how asinine they are. I say, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. And I do it. Whether I agree with it or not, makes no difference, so long as it's not morally incomparable. So long as my moral fiber is not being tested by the things that are being ordered of me. These people in my life, they have the authority to compel me to do things because, honestly, they gave me everything I have. They gave me structure, food on the table. They instilled integrity in me. Whether they had to use a belt and discipline to get that into me, because some are a little rougher around the edges than others, I'll be real honest with you. Boys are a lot different than girls, and for anybody that wants to argue that, I'm going to tell you something right now. If you tried to be sweet to me when I was a kid to correct me, you would have gotten nowhere. Nowhere. You see, I have the ability to see their narcissistic tendencies because I myself could have been an awesome fucking narcissist if I wanted to be. Thank God for that belt. That's all I can say. Thank God for that belt and people who actually loved me enough to say, I don't enjoy what I'm about to have to do, but you've given me no other options. You won't listen, you thick-headed son of a bitch. You just won't pull your head out of your ass, and these are the consequences and repercussions of your actions. And I'm not going to enjoy this. Now, for the longest time, I always thought the people that were disciplining me in such a fashion really enjoyed it. It wasn't until my little girl, I don't know, she might have been about 1.5 years old, and I told her not to go near that street, and I had to paddle her bare behind for not listening to Dad and going over and walking towards that street, and her mother was mortified. Her mother had never had any physical discipline in her life. And I looked at her mother and said, would you rather me scoop her up with a grain shovel out of the middle of the fucking road, or would you rather her know that going near that road is painful and not to do it again? Some people call that child abuse. I'm going to tell you right now, I will take the option of her looking at me and breaking my heart, because she did. When she looked at me after I paddled her bare ass, pull her diaper back up, the look that she gave me crushed me. It was at that moment in time I realized everybody that had ever taken a belt or a wooden spoon or a fly swatter or a flip-flop to my ass, they didn't enjoy it one fucking bit. Not one. And I felt a great amount of remorse for the people that I've forced to do those things, because I couldn't get it right. Not because I couldn't, because I wouldn't, because I wanted to defy authority. I wanted to do things my way. No matter how dangerous it was, I wanted to do it my way. And unfortunately, or fortunately enough for me, the elders in the community, because it wasn't always my folks that put a whooping on me either. Yeah, it wasn't always my folks. There were other people that cared enough about me and were disciplined enough to give me structure in my life. And I thank them every day for it. They're gone now. Rest in peace. But I'm very, very thankful for that discipline I received. So discipline comes in a number of forms and fashions. Sometimes just talking to somebody is enough, showing that you're disappointed. But in order to show them you're disappointed, you must also tell them how absolutely proud you are of them and their monumental achievements that they've made that you recognize. See, because if all you're ever doing is casting disciplinary action through disapproval, but you're never telling them how much you appreciate how they've grown, well then, after a while, their disapproval of your behavior or actions really doesn't matter to you, because they've never shown any side of appreciation. All they've ever told you is how much of a disappointment you are. So it works twofold, right? Agents and agency only have the ability to govern agents and agency. That's their duty. That's their job. And then, of course, the mindless half-wits out there that can't seem to get their shit wired tight, keep their head on a swivel, and comprehend exactly what the hell is going on. All right? So for that, I appreciate the system. If it wasn't for the Heavenly Father putting me and incarcerating me in prison and taking away 30 pounds, no shit, 30 pounds of legal documents for when I was the self-proclaimed Nebraska's favorite fugitive, I told them I'd come in when I was damn good and ready. And I did. They knew I would. And because I told the judge after I called him in chambers, I said, look here, you started this shit. I will finish it. But it will be on my fucking terms. You started the war, just remember this. This is what you wanted. And people often think, well, geez, that's awfully boisterous. It takes a lot of bravado. It takes a lot of heart. You have to understand that until you lose everything, you will gain nothing in this world. That's hard for people to comprehend. Oh, Derrick, I've worked my whole life. You expect me to give up everything? It is easier to thread a camel through the eye of a needle than it is to take a rich man through the gates of heaven. All this materialistic shit. If those are the things that you pride yourself on and you're willing to sell your soul for materialistic shit, let me tell you something. Your lifespan here is short in comparison to eternity. Eternity is forever. I will never get on my knees or sell my soul for a price. It's just not happening. It's not happening. And you have to make that determination on your own. If you're willing to sell your soul, do you have to give up the luxuries of life and the things that you enjoy to ascend of the mind? Not necessarily. But it sure helps when you can say, I own nothing. I came into this world naked. I will leave this world naked with nothing except for hopefully my memories and the experiences that I had. And I can't even guarantee I get to take that, but it's a nice thought, isn't it? So the whole concept behind all of this is knowing, one, who you are, how much power you have. I just got an opportunity to take an entire community and a state to the cleaner, ladies and gentlemen. And I forewarned them back in 2017 and 18, if they fucked with me again, I'd hit them for $30 million. $30 million, which, myself understanding the ledgering system, that's peanuts, first of all. To everybody else, it seems extravagant. It's not. It's peanuts, but it's the only thing they seem to care about. And it doesn't even exist, ladies and gentlemen. It's more about sound doctrines and principles and leaving me the fuck alone before you find yourself in shit you can't get out of. Every agent and agency does not fill a proper office. They do not have the Title IV 101 oath of office on record. They do not have the proper Title V 3331 oath of office properly filed on record. They do not have, as far as the judiciary is concerned, the proper Title 28 oath of office. They do not have the oath of office to the state constitution, and they do not have or hold on record the oath to the United States of America's Constitution either. They are imposters in office. They do not have the authority to dictate or delegate anything to you at all for any reason unless you consent. You have to consent. Well, Derrick, how are we consenting? I mean, we go in there and we tell them we don't consent, we don't accept, and they just run us over. They made an offer. You thought it was over when the judge slammed down his gavel, and you didn't realize you got the final motherfucking word. Simply give them a notice of void judgment. You're without authority. You lack competency. You're not independently bonded. You're utilizing a false and fictitious assumed business name, trade name, or in Florida they call it something else. They call it something completely different. And that's the thing. You're going to have to get learned in the alleged state that you're in on how they identify certain things. Some things are trade names. In other states, they're assumed business names. And the state of Florida, I believe it's a fictitious name. Okay? And you have to learn the lingo in order to communicate. All right? It's the difference between English and slang. All right? When you learn Spanish in Spanish class in your high school, it was a proper Spanish. My biological father is 100% Hispanic. He's spoken Spanish and is bilingual since he was just a baby boy. He failed Spanish class. My grandmother, his mother, was appalled by the fact that he has spoken Spanish his entire life. How do you fail Spanish? He said, oh, she doesn't know anything. She doesn't know how to speak Spanish. And he was right, in the sense that they teach it proper. And he's been speaking it as his native tongue all his life. Who do you think's going to stick out like a sore thumb when they go to Mexico? The one who learns proper Spanish at a high school. Going to stick out as a tourist. He would much rather blend in, right? Be able to communicate and not look like an outsider. When you think about equity, clean hands, the clean hand doctrine is the most important aspect and concept of moving a claim equitable with a bill of equity. Okay? A bill in equity. In equity, not at equity, not like they do at law shit. We're talking about a bill in equity. Clean hands should be the first thing that is stated in your bill in equity. That you're coming forward with clean hands, with pure intent, a good heart, a clean soul, period. and that it is your belief that you've been caused harm, damage, loss, and a hardship by certain actions. And then you list those actions with no emotion. Pretty simple. On June 10th, 2023, I was stopped, forbidden, and prohibited from going where I wanted, when I wanted, for a duration of time that was unbeknownst to me by a guy with no authority to do so. No warrant. He violated the law and the spirit of the law and the letter of the law of the land. And in doing so, caused harm, damage, loss, and a hardship. Therefore, I move this court, right? This is why this court has jurisdiction. Because I, as a man, have a right to redress a grievance. Period. Anytime I want. Everybody says the Supreme Court is the highest court in the land. Which Supreme Court? Some people say it's in Washington, D.C. That's not true. The highest Supreme Court in the land is in Pennsylvania. But the highest court of them all is your court on the four corners of the paper, where you make the assertion, you do the dictation and the notation that needs to be done, you create your statements of fact, your claim in your bill in equity, the proposed remedy and solution for the trespass causing harm, damage, loss, and hardship. You only want what's right, true, correct, fair, and accurate. You're not looking for a handout. You're not looking for anything more than what you are entitled to or owed. Period. Real simple stuff, guys. Real simple. You notice I'm not talking about statutes, codes, city ordinances, rules, regulations, or ordinances in general. Do you realize that speed limit signs are nothing more than an ordinance? It's an ordinance for commercial purposes. It's merely a suggestion for me. I get to dictate, because I'm competent as a man, what's safe for me. Conditions provided. Do I do 110 mile an hour when there's 6 inches of snow on the ground? Fuck no. It's retarded. The conditions don't permit for me to do that safely, do they? And I value my life. There are times that I don't sit at red lights. I make an assessment. I'm a competent man. I look around. Fuck, there's nobody at this intersection. I'm not going to sit here and waste my God-given breath and time and heartbeats sitting here. This light didn't place me under arrest, right? I've assessed the situation. I'm competent as a man to evaluate it properly. And although I may be violating the letter of the law, I didn't violate the spirit of the law, because I didn't cause any harm, damage, loss, or hardship to anybody. I simply went about my way because I'm competent enough to make those. And I understand the enormous carry should I go through that red light and cause harm, damage, loss, and a hardship to somebody. So I assess that reality, and then I proceed on. I don't do it during the day, because during the day there's a lot of people out, right? But at 3 in the fucking morning, if you think I'm sitting at a fucking red light for 10 minutes, you're fucking off your rocker. No fucking way. Not happening. Don't give a shit. Don't care who's there. Don't care who witnesses me do it. If I've assessed the intersection and I've determined that there is no inherent danger, guess what? I'm moving on. I've been doing that for years and years and years. It's time for the American people to start to think critically for themselves and ask proper questions. Cor Warranto. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Mark Metz, but our brother Mark Metz wants to get together and do a real good class on Core Warranto with me real soon. I don't know how many of you guys are up for that. Smoking Baby has part 2 of his class, where we're going into the finite details of how to create a power of attorney properly to make sure that you comprehend it and the power that you have, as well as the SS5 FS, foreign status, and the proper documentation to inquire about when you have agents and agency taking interest in you. Simple stuff. If you don't have said information, you can't produce on and for the official record your credentials. Lawfully. Have a nice day. You'd be lucky if I don't get you for misprision of a felony and false and fictitious pleadings and simulated legal process using sham legal pleadings. You'd be lucky if I don't get you for contempt of law or malicious prosecution. The things I speak of already been done. I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm merely dusting that old dusty bitch off and using it. That's it. It's nothing fancy to what I'm doing. Went the hard way about getting there, which is the story of my life. I've always done things the hard way. You know, people say, oh, lift it this way. It's so much easier. It's body mechanics. Yeah, blow it out your ass. You're just jealous you ain't young and strong. Check this out. 30-some years old. I'm going, oh, my back. They're going, yeah, jackass. We told you. You didn't want to listen. You want to be a tough guy. Allow my struggles, my pains that I put myself in that are really self-inflicted. So you don't have to go through that excruciating mental shit. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Real simple stuff. Demand that SF61. Ladies and gentlemen, if they're making a claim against you, all right, estate, it's not you. Have fuck all to do with you. All right, it's the estate for which you are the intended beneficiary of. Mark wants to do a class on subrogation and subrogee and equitable right of redemption. About that, let me know in the comments. But that's what our good brother Mark Metz wants to do. Now, Mark Metz, he's got testimonials from the last 20 years of doing this, helping people on all kinds of different issues, using all kinds of different methods, because when the system is as jacked up as it is, all based on presumption and assumptions, there's a million ways to slaughter the beast. A million. And then some. You can go into equity. You can do it statutorily. You can just do it with sound doctrines, principles, and common fucking sense. The Constitution clearly binds you guys to produce a man or woman claiming harm, damage, loss by way of trespass by my actions, whether it be negligence, gross incompetence. Either you have that man or woman coming forward before this court today, or you have Jack Dick, and all you're doing is playing with your pud and hoping you don't get caught, wagering with the American people's wherewithal and life source energy. Your fucking testicles in the guillotine, fucker, are your options. Bring his fucking checkbook to the courtroom. Because should you ever figure that simple fact out and bring it to the attention of the court, legal and judicial determination on the fact that no claimant has made a general appearance sworn to bonding this case, and what say ye, this honorable, say this judge, you got up. This matter is now closed. I'll be pursuing 10 door pro no say cuter. Here's the other thing. Call me fucker. That's unbecoming anybody in your alleged position to be calling people names, isn't it? Oh, sir, you can call me a brother in Christ. You can call me the ambassador of peace. You can call me anything, motherfucker. How about this? I guess. I mean, entity that innate definitely doesn't have a know what the wilt like a flower in the desert heat. They wilt, and many of the people who have taken scheduled calls failed in their. Holy shit! It is that simple, isn't it? Yes, it is. Another key element in admiralty, maritime jurisdiction in the land of and make believe, puff field. All right. The claim or complaint. Check this out. Somebody issued. They will state in there that the matter came before the court, and the court, upon sufficient evidence supported by oath or affirmation and a statement of fact, the court finds that a burden of proof has been met to issue said warrant. You know what nobody ever asked for? Nobody ever asked for the accompanying documents with the warrant. Ever. 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 I do. Where's that at? The primary active degree of fault for slander, defamation of character, and infringing upon my unalienable from point A leisure when I because I'm not causing harm, damage, loss, or a hardship to them. You better produce that, motherfucker. Anything to me. Could because and why when they were writing these and the anti-federalist these people and why it was for them self and their why they saying that you don't have to quarter soldiers in time of war or in times of peace, because back then soldiers just kick in your fucking door and move in, start screwing your daughter, slapping your old lady around, demanding things of your family, taking your grain, taking your rice, eating you out of house and home like parasites. Think about that. Sorry you guys are losing sound. I got a microphone plugged in, but you know how it is when I go on a rant making lives. Shit happens when you party naked, I guess. I don't know how else to explain it. that wasn't need to become
because I have